Have you ever listened to someone tell a story and you just couldn't look away? It wasn't their perfect voice. It wasn't their fancy setup. It was something deeper. The way their words made you feel. And that is the secret of powerful storytelling. It's not about performance, it's about connection. And the good news is, you don't need to be a filmmaker or a speaker to tell stories that hold attention. You only need 3 ingredients: simple, practical, but incredibly powerful. So in this video, I'll walk you through them one by one with real examples you can apply immediately, so your stories stop feeling forced and start flowing naturally. Welcome to Brand Story School. I am Dr. Ish, and today we're talking about 3 ingredients to master storytelling. The first ingredient is emotion. Every unforgettable story makes you feel something. Think about the last story that stayed with you. Maybe it was a movie or a podcast or even a conversation. You might not remember every word, but you remember how it made you feel. That is the power of emotion. It's what turns information into memory. Now, when most people tell stories, they start with what happened, which is the facts, the timeline, and the events. But the best storytellers start with what was felt, meaning how they felt at the time. Before you share a story, pause and ask yourself, what do I want my audience to feel? Do you want them to feel inspired? Do you want them to feel relieved? Do you want them to feel seen? Or do you want them to feel hopeful? Once you know the emotion, it becomes your compass. It guides what details you include and which ones you leave out. When I tell the story of how I almost quit YouTube, I don't start with, in 2022, I had 300 subscribers. That is information. Instead, I start with the feeling. For instance, there was a moment I almost shut down my camera. Not because I didn't love creating, but because it stopped loving me back. Now, can you see the difference here? Instantly, you are drawn in because you can feel what I feel. When you lead with feeling, your story becomes alive because emotion creates empathy, and empathy keeps people listening. And that's why the most interesting storytellers lead with their stories using empathy. What you must realize is that emotion keeps people listening. Any story that hits a very sweet spot in your mind is usually stories filled with emotion. It keeps people trapped and attentive. So before your next video, before your next post, or even your next speech, start not with what happened, but how it felt. That is the very first ingredient to become a master storyteller, using emotion. The second ingredient is conflict. Every powerful story has tension, something that challenges the main character, creates uncertainty, or tests belief. Without conflict, a story is flat and very boring. it has no pulse, it has no reason for you or anyone to care. So conflict doesn't have to mean chaos. It simply just means resistance. That is the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Which brings us to 3 types of conflict you can use. One is internal conflict, which is the fear, the doubts, and the insecurities within. The second is external conflict, which is the circumstances or obstacles outside your control. The third is the relational conflict, which is the friction between people or perspective. But here is the truth. Your audience doesn't connect with your success, at least at the beginning. They connect with your struggle because they see themselves in your struggle. And because struggle is also universal. And that is what makes your story human. And this is what connects one human to another. So if you skip the conflict and go straight to the victory, your story may feel like a highlighted reel. It might feel unreal and it might feel fake because people need to know the foundation of that victory or success, if there is. And when you share the messy middle, the doubts, the mistakes you experienced, the moments you almost gave up, that is when your audience leans in because a good majority will resonate with this aspect. For example, when I talk about building Brand Story School, I could say it took years to grow, but that is not the story. Nobody is going to connect with that. That is the summary. Instead, I would say for 5 years, I was teaching others how to grow online while secretly feeling stuck myself. Now, that one line creates instant tension. It makes the listener curious and it makes them now want to know, so how did she move from being stuck to becoming strong? That is conflict at work. Every great movie, every viral speech, and every TED Talk, they all have one question at the center. Will the character overcome the obstacle? Now, the bigger the conflict, the stronger people will connect. So don't run from the hard parts of your story, even if you may be scared that you will be criticized. So, here's the thing. Don't run from the hard parts of your story. Show them. Let your audience see the cracks, because that is where your light comes through. 2 people cannot have the same exact kind of story. Your story is what we call the differentiating factor. That singular thing that makes you stand out from somebody else doing exactly the same thing you are doing. Now, this is the second ingredient, conflict. Remember, the first ingredient was emotion, and the second ingredient is conflict. Now, finally, we move on to the third ingredient, which is called transformation. Every great story ends with change, not just external success, but internal growth. Transformation is what gives your story meaning. It's not about what happened to you, it's about what happened in you. Your audience doesn't just want to hear that you won, they want to know who you became in the process. So, transformation is the bridge between your past and your purpose. It is the point where your story stops being personal and starts being powerful. So ask yourself, what shifted because of this experience? What do I see differently now? Maybe you became more confident, or maybe you learned to trust your voice more, Or maybe you discovered that your pain had purpose. That is transformation. So when I share how I went from hiding behind numbers to embracing storytelling, my transformation isn't I built a brand. It is I learned that being vulnerable isn't weakness. It's how people recognize themselves in you. That is the power of transformation. It inspires belief in people and your audience. It tells your audience, if I changed, you can too. And that is what separates a good story from a great one. Good stories entertain. Great stories transform. This is the very important third ingredient called transformation. So let's recap. To master storytelling, you don't need a perfect camera or fancy editing. You just need 3 things. 1, emotion. 2, conflict. And 3, transformation. Emotion makes people feel. Conflict makes them care. And transformation makes them believe. These are building blocks behind every TED Talk, every spiral speech, every film that moves you to tears. So when you blend all 3, something magical happens. Your content stops sounding like content and starts sounding like connection. So, this week, pick one story from your life, any story. Don't overthink it. Write it out using these 3 ingredients. Lead with the feeling, show the conflict, and reveal the transformation. And then, I know you're scared, but share it. And in your caption, your video, or your next brand story moment. But guess what? You will notice something shift. And not just in how people respond, but in how you show up. Why? Because storytelling isn't about perfection. It is about presence. It is about allowing people to see the truth in your journey. It is about being genuine. It is about being authentic and true to yourself. So if you found this helpful, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to Brand Story School and share this video with someone who is learning to tell their story too. Because your story isn't small, it's not random, it is not irrelevant, it is the seed of your success, and the world is waiting to hear it.